The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Friends in Recovery podcast, the podcast that is here to help you, a loved one, or a friend get started down the road to recovery. This is the Friends in Recovery podcast, brought to you by the Genesis House. Genesis House, providing a safe, nurturing environment to heal from addiction since 1992. Please be a friend and share our message with a friend on Podbean, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or YouTube. And now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to everyone to the Friends in Recovery podcast, and we're broadcasting live from Studio 21 Podcast Café, Salem, New Hampshire. What a great place to be.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Miles.
Rich Lombardi, the step guy.
Yep, and we're here without Ed. Ed's not here today.
Where is Ed? Ed?
Ed?
Where are you, Ed?
You got one Ed.
Oh, yeah,
we got
right.
one
We got
Ed
with
Sullivan.
us. Yeah, Ed Sullivan.
And we are your Friends in Recovery. Come get sober with us. We can be reached at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. You can reach us at 1-800-989-6504 or friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Also look for us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Very important to subscribe.
Yes, please. We need the subscriptions.
That's right. And we'd like to thank Genesis House for sponsoring Friends in Recovery podcast, which they have been now for 6 months. And,
Yeah, awesome.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah.
It's a great place, and I did business with them yesterday. Actually, I sent a gentleman down to get some help, and I'm positive that he'll get the necessary help, treatment, and be back and good as news.
Nice.
As soon as possible. So now back to Studio 21 Podcast Cafe and our show. Today, I think we're talking about Step 6 today.
We are, yes. We're going to talk a little bit about Step 6 today. And basically, Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So we ask God to help us be willing, right? Once again, they're all, as you know, all the steps are, we have to keep an open mind.
Absolutely.
And then we just stay willing.
Sure.
And then, so we're going to get this list. We're going to get it from 4 and 5. Obviously, we've already done 4 and 5. We've written it all down. Now it's time to take a look at, the defects. It says we list all our character defects from 4 and 5, and then we're going to write a little brief description of them so that we can actually see them.
Right.
Because sometimes we have defects of character, we don't even know we have them, or we've been doing these things for so long
Sure.
that they stay the same.
Some. Sure.
So now we're going to take a look at them. And once we've done that, we're going to ask for some awareness. And I like this. It says right here. It says, "In what ways are my defects really basic human traits that have been distorted by my own self-centeredness?" So where do all my character defects come from?
Right.
My self-centeredness.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Self-centeredness is definitely the common cold of most addicts and alcoholics. It's all about them.
Absolutely.
It's all about us.
Yeah.
It's all
exactly.
about us.
Exactly.
It really is.
And then if you ask me, I'll tell you that I don't have any.
Yeah, right.
Defects of character?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And I think it's important, too, to say that, the God of our own understanding. Some people don't have an affiliation with the traditional God or a God. They might be pissed off. They might be upset. Something bad might have happened. Someone might have passed away, a good friend or someone they were praying for. So God's a non-entity. However, what I learned in AA over the years is that the God of my understanding, the God I ask for help for every night when I get on my knees and thank every morning when I get on my knees, I don't know who it is. I don't have a definitive picture. I grew up as a Catholic, but it's not the same for me. I don't know. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, my relationship with my higher power has grown over the years. Early on, prior to my addiction, I guess, I had a certain belief system. And then, in my addiction, I think I put away with that belief system. I went to the dark side, so to speak.
Yep.
And now my relationship with that higher power has changed, obviously, as I become willing. My faith has grown. Your faith grows, your trust grows. And now, basically, I rely upon my higher power on a daily basis, right? And so he's going to help me with these defects.
Sure.
Because, it was funny. I was talking to someone today, and only God has been able to do for me what I could not do for myself,
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe, the defects of character, and we have them every day. They don't just go away. But if you have a clear mind, you can make a decision. You can make a conscious decision to do right or wrong. If I found a bundle of money or a wallet or a pocketbook, I would never think about stuffing it, somewhere and then keeping it. I'd always think about who's the poor soul that lost this. However, there's one time in my life that I wouldn't have thought that, and
Yes.
and it's almost like that's just an example I'm using, but I think if you look at your whole life compared to when you first got, so you've been sober quite a while, 29 years?
Yeah, 29 years.
That's
by the grace of God.
Yeah, absolutely. What I always say is the grace of God and the teachings of AA, because I don't know how it's happened. I have no idea. I have no idea why I don't have a compulsion to pick up a drink or a drug. I just don't. And I'm fortunate because there was a time when that's all I thought about.
Yeah, exactly. And so as we were talking about this, I was thinking about assets and liabilities. As these defects of character, these liabilities, I give them away, and I start to change. Now now I can they become assets.
Sure.
And so the other thing I was thinking about today was. I don't know. I'm a little off today. I don't know what's going on. I think we got where's Ed?
You were thinking about Ed today. That's it.
Yeah. So, So as I get rid of these and as I let them go, it teaches me how to let go.
Right.
Says when will the pain of holding on to my defects of character become greater than my fear for change? Right. Having many of my thought habits brought nothing but pain and degradation to my life. Do I need help in dealing with them? And so this is all about letting go.
Sure. Sure. I found making amends to people in sobriety. It didn't happen right away. I mean, some people jump right into the program and 2 weeks they want to go make amends and apologize, and they're not even well yet.
Yeah.
It took me a few years, but I made amends to some people that I probably never would have if it wasn't for the teachings of this program. And what I got out of that was whether they accepted my apologies and my pleas for forgiveness. It didn't matter to me because I was doing the best I could. And I got to say, 99% of the people I went to, I think all the people I went to accepted it, which made it a little easier. But the willingness, I had to get willing. And when you hold a grudge. It only hurts you, The person doesn't know you're even holding a grudge against them. They could probably care less.
No.
But I can remember making an amend to a guy who owned a sub shop. He was on my route, and I went in there and I made amends to him because there was plenty of times I'd be in there and I just, I wasn't well, and I didn't treat the poor guy right,
Yeah.
And he was such a nice man, and I went in to make amends to him, and I could tell by the look in his eyes he had no idea what I was talking about. So I shook his hand and I said, "Look, I'm just sorry if I treated you badly or poorly." And he's like, "Do you want a sandwich? Do you want some pizza?" I'm like, "No, I want to make amends."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it is amazing how as we go through this process and we do these things that people see. The days of saying I'm sorry and all that are kind of over. You know what I mean?
Right.
When I was in my addiction and I would say I was sorry, I meant it, but I didn't know how to follow through.
Right.
And with this, and as I let go, it teaches me how to follow through.
Right.
And I was thinking about, I went back to thinking about the liabilities and the assets, and then I was thinking about defects, and then I was thinking about virtues. So my defects, lying, stealing, cheating, all that type of stuff, now become virtues. Virtues are honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, all that stuff.
Right.
So now, instead of relying upon all these defects to get my needs met, now I'm relying upon my virtues.
Right.
I become a virtuous person, which I didn't even know what that meant, virtuous, but I know what it means now.
Some of the acronyms you learn in this program, and one of them is how, honesty, openness, and willingness, and the willingness, that was the hard part. It was like, all right, how am I going to do this? I find a lot of people in recovery, early recovery, addicts in general are procrastinators because they don't have the energy, they don't have the means, they don't have the desire. They want to get what they need, and then after that, unless they're got a nice buzz going, they're not going to do much more.
Yeah.
So, how do you go forward from that? But when I found after being several months sober, I had all this energy. I'd wake up, I'd feel like $1 million. I had nothing. I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was happy as I'd never been happier.
You didn't arrive here on the wings of success.
That's it, And I'd be walking everywhere, and I wasn't embarrassed. I did what I did.
Yeah.
But, I kind of dug my own hole, and then I dug myself out. But I just can remember waking up and just having all this boundless energy and happiness and having nothing, where I'd had so much prior to that before I lost everything. I had a new car, I had money in the bank, I had a lot going on. But I really subscribe to this program because of that. And I look back, and when I go to meetings now and I see newcomers and listen to them speak, everybody wants it all at once. But I'm glad I was in an era where the old timers just said, things will come. All you got to do is keep going to meetings.
Yeah.
No matter how bad your life was, that was their answer. Just keep coming, keep coming. And you know what? They were right.
Yeah,
they were right.
Exactly. I was thinking about practice, and once again, steps 1 through 12. It's about practicing. We work 1 through 6 now, and then, of course, we're going to go on to 7 and ask for our shortcomings, and then, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But, it's a daily practice. Right, it's not perfection.
Nope.
Right, I think about practice, not perfection. We do this to the best of our ability.
Right.
There's no right way. There's no wrong way. Those type of things. I was thinking. It says here, practice daily relaxation, meditation, and prayer, and asking, our higher power to give us the willingness and to help us to be aware of what our character defects are, because like I said, sometimes I'm blinded to them.
Absolutely.
And I can't really recognize them. Although with practice, I recognize them more and more. And if they come up, I can immediately stop them, and then I can do what's necessary to do, not to move any further.
So can I throw in a question?
Sure.
So I've been sitting here, going through the steps with you guys.
Yeah.
And what's not clear to me is how do I know when it's time to go to the next step? Or do you work them simultaneously, or how does that go?
There's different ways you can approach it. Well, one of the ways I was fortunate enough I was about 3 years sober, and I started doing steps because there was a step meeting. It was on a certain night, and I had that night off. So I went to my first step meeting. I was aware of the steps. They talked about the steps. The steps are in the big book that I was reading, but I had never discuss the steps. So when I'd go to a meeting, it would be a step meeting. They'd be doing step 1 on Tuesday night, and that would go on for 12 weeks until you finish, step 12. So that was my first introduction to the steps, and honestly, it's a way of life. It really is a way of life. This isn't a religious program, but it's certainly a spiritual program, and unless you're spiritually dead and you have some serious mental health issues, you can't help but glean. When you're reading a step or someone's reading a paragraph, then we discuss it, and then we read on and we discuss it. You can read the same step the following week and the same paragraph, and you might get a different meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
So the point is, you don't finish.
You don't finish.
Never. Yeah,
it's infinite. You just keep going.
This is not a graduation. We're not going to graduate. This is a continuous process.
That's right.
It's a lifelong process.
Right.
There's an old saying in AA, more to be revealed. So every time, like you said, you could read the big book today, and, depending on what type of mood you're in, what type of atmosphere, you read it and you get what you get that day.
Right.
Now you can read it a week from now. You can be in a totally different atmosphere and a totally different mindset, and it's totally different.
Right.
But it's all the same.
Right.
It's amazing.
Steps 1, 2, and 3 are the real eye-openers. And I can remember early in sobriety, I was, 14, 15 months sober, and I started getting these panic attacks, and they were crippling. I mean, I couldn't drive, I couldn't eat, I couldn't walk, I couldn't stay in a market in line, I couldn't sit in a restaurant, and they came out of nowhere. And I mean, they were literally, I would much rather have somebody beat me with a bat than give me one of these anxiety attacks. So an old time, I had won a small step book that fit in my pocket, and he said to me one day, he said, read, when you have an anxiety attack, take 17 or 15 minutes out of your time, out of the day, and read steps 1, 2, and 3. Well, it took me 17 minutes to read those 3 steps, and I must have read them hundreds of times. And what it did was it told me exactly who I was. I was an alcoholic drug addict. What I was doing, I was trying to get sober and try to change my life and make it better. And for some reason, when I'd be reading these steps over and over again, that anxiety, that panic, that fear would just subside. And all of a sudden, I'd be back to normal. I'm not saying it didn't come back 10 or 15 minutes later, but that's how I really got into the steps, by reading them over and over. I could almost verbatim. I know what the next paragraph was going to be, when I was reading it.
Yeah, it was funny. I was just reading about letting go, and it says, when the pain of holding on to my defects of character become greater than my fear for the change. It's like when the pain is great enough, Most people, we won't change until we've had enough.
Right.
Enough is enough,
right.
And then we really take a look at that stuff. What else was I thinking here? So, how may I increase the trust in God of my understanding by working step 6? Once again, this talks about daily practice of step 6 principles. How may I practice the principle of self-acceptance even when, once again, I act on a defense against my will? So these things always come back, right? So it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle. We ask for them to be removed, but some of them stay for a while until they're ready to be removed, till the pain is great enough.
Right. Step 12 is a step that it's the helping step. It's a step where you help other people. And, when you finally get there, when you have enough knowledge and calm about you and the understanding of the program, it's really good when you can give other people information, or you can sit and talk to someone, or help somebody. I see people out there stemming money, and I look at some of these people, and I know they're not using the money for food or whatever. Who cares? But what I do think about is that could be me, that could be my kid, that could be my nephew, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes when I'll look and I'll have a couple extra bucks, and I'll make a big deal. I'll just, here you go. I don't want to hear the story. What I got to do my laundry, or they all got stories. I don't care. It's just that at that moment, I don't do it all the time, but at that moment, I feel like this is my act for the day. It's $2, whatever. Good luck. I'm glad I'm not out there sick and suffering. So I guess we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Put that hammer down and check out the Don't Do It Yourself podcast. The Don't Do It Yourself podcast is a weekly podcast where Tommy Two Shoes and No Nonsense Nance sit down with a different specialist every week. If you're tired of unvetted and uninsured contractors charging too much money for not enough quality, you need to check out the Don't Do It Yourself podcast, the Contractors Referral Program. The Don't Do It Yourself podcast is live on YouTube every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. or on demand on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast catcher. Put that hammer down and don't do it yourself. Genesis House is a premier substance abuse and rehabilitation facility located in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. We have been providing the highest quality of addiction treatment since 1992 and are accredited by the Joint Commission. We offer a range of programs that include detox, residential treatment, dual diagnosis, a Christian track for people who want to incorporate their faith into treatment, a uniform services track, and we work with most major insurance carriers. Genesis House is led by a dedicated team of administrative and clinical professionals, and we stand on our commitment to excellence in recovery services. Contact us today to find out more about our program. Take the first step and call Genesis House at 800-737-0933 or visit us on the web at www.genesishouse.net. That's 800-737-0933 or www.genesishouse.net. Begin your journey to a long and successful recovery with Genesis House.
Soul Sessions is an intuitive life coaching service that provides a safe place for everyone to get the guidance they are seeking. Intuitive life coach Shanti Syncere Slade uses her powerful gifts of empathy, spiritual connection, intuition, human experience, and conscious listening to provide a safe place to evolve and shed light on the truth of who we all are, brilliant divine beings. Remembering ourselves as spiritual beings helps us to navigate through the human experience with more gratitude and ease. For more information or to book a free 30-minute telephonic consultation, please visit our website at www.soulsessions.com. That's www.SOEL for Seeing Ourselves Evolve Lovingly, sessions with an S.com. We can all use a little guidance.
Richie Lombardi, the Step Guy, joins us once a month on the second Tuesday, where we plan to get in-depth with each of the 12 steps to recovery. Come get sober with the Friends in Recovery podcast and Rich, the Step Guy, Lombardi. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to get this and every episode each and every week.
Hey, welcome back. Friends in Recovery podcast, live from Studio 21, Podcast Café. Salem, New Hampshire, and it's nice to be here.
Yeah, we're back.
Yep. I'm Mike Miles.
Rich Lombardi, the step guy.
Yep. And listen, we're going to continue the show. We have a few things we'd like to put out there, and one of them is I want to congratulate and just recognize a guy I'd like to consider a friend, but he's definitely a friend of David, who is the owner of Studio 21 and Two Guys Smoke Shop up in Salem. His name is Michael Cusano. And Michael Cusano is 30 years sober today.
Awesome.
And I met Mike at a cigar party once, and geez, it was great. I mean, he's just a great guy. Regular guy. He had an $800 suit on. I remember admiring the suit, thinking, geez, I'll probably get buried in a suit that doesn't cost that much, But we started talking, and lo and behold, we're both in recovery, and we're drinking cranberry juice and soda water. And he knew one guy from Lowell who was a close friend of mine, which was just amazing. And, God works in strange ways. But congratulations, Mike.
Yeah.
30 years sober,
awesome.
Day at a time. Boy, that's no small feat.
No.
3 decades of sobriety. And did you have somebody you wanted to mention?
I did. Unbelievable. It's no coincidences, how you met Mike, and then, you start talking. And then one thing leads to recovery and another thing, and the next thing you know, you realize you have a lot in common that you didn't really even know you had. But, I wanted to give a shout-out to a couple of my buddies out in the Framingham, Shrewsbury area. Jerry M. Celebrated 43 years last night, and my friend Tom, 47 years. Tom was very influential in my early recovery. I remember I was at a meeting one time, and he brought me a Just for Today, N.A., Daily Reflections book. Mm-hmm. And he wrote a nice, beautiful passage in there, just giving me encouragement. And to this day, 30 years later, I read it to the guys every day in the institution. Nice. For the Daily Reflections, Just for Today, for the N.A. book. And I was telling him that story last night. I don't think he believed me. But I'm going to bring him the book so I can show him how tattered it is. Like the back pages are off. It's all soft and everything. But
inmates being skeptical? Come on. I don't believe that.
I hear you.
They trust everybody.
Unbelievable. And then I just wanted to give a shout-out. I guess Dave was just letting me know that a friend of mine, Brianna Fitzgerald out in Boston from Recovery Matters, is listening to the show right now, and I just want to say hi to her and all my recovering friends out in the city.
Nice. Well, we've been doing this for 6 months. I feel blessed. This has been it's not only helping people. I think that we've reached out to a lot of people. Mm. This is a great network to do it too. But it takes money to do this, and I really think that it might be an opportunity to look for some sponsors.
Yeah.
Whether you're an attorney and you represent people that have substance abuse issues, OUIs, drug possession or whatever, whether you're a business that, wants to help people find some help, or medical, it could be a multitude of businesses that we'd love to have as advertisers. We're not looking for big dough either. We have a good listening audience. We've been told that we're one of the top podcast, out of the studio here, which is good, and I think it speaks volumes about the hard work we put in for the last 6 months. So, if you're listening or if you're watching and you want to be a sponsor, you can call us at our 800 number, 1-800-989-6504, and being a sponsor, we'll explain to you what we'll offer, and your name would be on the show, obviously, and you'd be part of it. You could actually come on the show, and we could interview you and talk about your business. And I just think it would be something that would be very helpful.
Yeah, and we really appreciate all the listeners and all the watchers and, everybody out there that is listening to the show on a weekly basis.
Sure.
And we really appreciate Genesis House, obviously. They've been awesome to us. Yep. But we need help.
Yep.
So one of the things we learn in recovery is how to ask for help.
Right. Yeah, it'd be good.
So we want to keep this show rolling. The numbers are through the roof, and it would be a shame to have to. I don't know. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah,
makes me sad.
Let's not go there.
No, we're not going to go there.
Makes me sad. You know what the good news is?
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
You know what the good news is?
What's that?
We don't have to drink.
Right.
Let's go to a sincere moment.
A sincere moment would be
Here
great.
We go. Nice.
Great.
That may help you, Richie.
Yes, please. I need a little help.
And now it's time for a sincere moment with Shanti Syncere Slade, brought to you by Soul Sessions.
Peace and positive energy, beautiful souls. I am your soul coach and intuitive life coach, Shanti Syncere Slade. Welcome to a Syncere Moment. Today I want to talk to you about accountability. Checking your own vibration. Who pissed you off today? Whose fault is it that you didn't get that job, you didn't get that girl, you didn't get that guy, or who didn't let you over in the lane? Who pissed you off? Who made your life so miserable today? Well, if you understand yourself as a co-creator, then you know that anything that's happening on the outside of you is an indication of what's active in your own vibration. So instead of being pissed off, take that as an opportunity to check yourself. Remember, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So it's nobody else's fault that you feel the way you feel, because how you feel is always a choice. Once you bring awareness to how you feel, you can always shift the energy by starting off with gratitude for the breath of life, focusing on beauty, focusing on those things that we take for granted, okay? So it's nobody's fault that you feel like shit. You just have to be accountable for what's going on in your own vibration. This is a Syncere Moment with Shanti Syncere Slade.
Super.
I love you guys. Peace.
She does a great job. Well, that's it for today, and it's almost night. Today's show, and we are your Friends in Recovery, broadcasting live from Studio 21 Podcast Café. Don't forget, you can reach us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Very important number, 1-800-989-6504. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Come get sober with us. And again, thanks for everything. Genesis House, you're always there for us. And 6 months, and we're soaring. Ed, get back here. Hopefully see you soon.
And if no one told you they love you today, we do.
That's right. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.